Landlords in Maryland had a good way of getting around the requirement that they accept Section 8 tenants. They put income restrictions on all of their tenants, so that way, because the Section 8 people made so little money, they did not qualify. Now the Maryland Supreme Court has decided, hey, landlords can't do that anymore. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Maryland, and it has to do with their requirement for landlords to accept Section 8 tenants. Now, I told you before that what a lot of landlords are going to do is they're going to figure out some way, some kind of workaround in order to not have to do that, okay? If they don't want Section 8 tenants, they're going to figure out some way to make sure they don't have to put them in their properties. Now, one of the ways that I have suggested and that I've seen suggested is that landlords have an income restriction, okay? So they consider the income or the Section 8 voucher as a part of someone's income, right? If you say, hey, I require all tenants to be able to make, or to be able to, make 3 times as much as the monthly rent, so, that way they can rent from me. Well, no Section 8 tenant's going to be able to do that because they have very low incomes. And even if you include the amount of the voucher, it doesn't add up to 3 times the monthly rent. So state of Maryland, they caught on, and guess what? They started suing. Case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the state Supreme Court decided, yeah, that's not cool, okay? But in my opinion, simply put, no landlord should be forced to take on these tenants, and no landlord will be forced, okay? Regardless of what the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court said, you know what's going to happen. More landlords are going to figure out other ways around so that they don't have to rent to these people, okay? Because there's huge problems with the Section 8 program. Not just the tenants, okay? Yeah, there are some really bad Section 8 tenants, but the bureaucracy, the government overreach, all that garbage, you don't want to have to participate in this stupid socialist program, okay? And I hate Section 8. I hate it. I decided I wasn't going to participate in it anymore, and I'm not, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, and leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. So do you believe the landlords should be forced to participate in this program? And if you are a landlord and you are in a place that requires landlords to accept Section 8, what workarounds are you using so that you don't have to do it? Okay, if you don't feel like posting that sort of thing, let's just talk hypothetically. What workarounds do you think would work to get around this sort of law? Okay, put a comment in the comment section down below. Let's get into the article. This article is coming from WMAR2news.com, and it says, Maryland Supreme Court rules housing voucher recipients can't be denied home consideration. Yeah, legally they cannot be denied, but if there's some other way that you can deny them for some other reason, well, do it, okay? If you don't want to participate, don't make the government force you to participate. Now, I've covered a bunch of stories recently about Section 8 vouchers, like Section 8 landlords not being able to increase their rents. And in some places like Los Angeles, they're being forced to cut their rents, okay? And you're telling me that I have to participate in a program where you're going to cut my rent? Go to hell, okay? That's what I say. Anyway, let me get into the article. A big fair housing ruling out of Maryland Supreme Court. The state's high court on Monday ruled landlords cannot disqualify tenant applicants based solely on their source of income, specifically those with government-funded housing vouchers. In deciding the case, Katrina Hare versus David S. Brown Enterprises, the court cited a 2020 state law, the Housing Opportunities Made Equal Act. Essentially, the law prohibits property owners from considering someone's source of income when determining who they rent or sell a home to. Its primary purpose was to prevent discrimination against residents who are provided with government vouchers that pay for a majority or all of housing costs. And stop calling it freaking source of income. Okay, it is not income. It is an entitlement. We all know this. If it was income, you would pay taxes on it, period. And these people aren't paying a dime in taxes on these vouchers, okay? They are getting these vouchers and they're not paying a penny in taxes on it, okay? My income, I have to pay Social Security out of it. I have to pay, Medicare. I have to pay unemployment insurance. That's where my income I'm paying. I'm paying taxes. I'm paying all sorts of crap. But on the income that these people are supposedly receiving, they don't pay anything. They don't pay a dime. That's why it's not income, it's an entitlement. And if they would stop lying to people, we're going to change the definition of the word. Oh, no. They didn't earn it. Like in terms of income, I had to earn my income, either be it by working or by providing a service for somebody or selling a product. I had to earn it. That's how income works. Okay? Jesus. I feel like they do this on purpose because they want people to believe that, these people, they're deserving of this. No, they're not. Okay. I argue every day against these socialist programs, how they create a whole class of people who are entitled, who are lazy, and who will never be able to support themselves. And I'm 100% opposed to it. That's the thing, okay? And when it comes down to Section 8 in particular, right, you're creating two classes of people dependent on the government. And one of them on one side is the tenant, and on the other side are these landlords, okay? And I say don't fall for it. Don't fall for it, okay? Follow the law in your state, but work actively to change it. And, this should not be required. I'm a strong believer in that. Fortunately, I only invest in places where I make that decision, whether I'm going to accept this government check. Because, you know what? Now, all these landlords in these places where they are doing cutbacks, I believe Los Angeles has a similar law that requires landlords to accept Section 8 tenants. Yet, here you did exactly what they told you had to do, and now they're cutting the amount of rent that you get. Yeah, like I said, this is BS and it's garbage. But anyway, let me continue with this article. In this particular situation, Brown had a long-standing policy requiring potential tenants to earn a minimum monthly income 2.5 times the cost of rent. Hare applied to rent one of Brown's apartments at a monthly rate of $1,590. Her housing voucher covered $1,464 of that amount, meaning she would only be responsible for paying $126 a month. Okay, so she only pays $126 a month. I mean, give me a break, okay? What is her motivation to go get a better job when you're paying $126 a month, okay? When I used to work at Walmart a long time ago, back when I was in my 20s, okay? And at the time, my monthly rent, and it was relatively cheap, was $700 a month. Okay. Now this was back in the mid, maybe 2001, 2002. Okay. $700 a month. I was working at Walmart full time and I paid 100% of the rent out of my own pocket. Okay. Walmart isn't a great high paying job by any means. And I think maybe I brought home maybe $1,800 or $1,900 a month, but I made sure to pay that rent. Now, what in the world are you motivating someone to do in terms of self-improvement when you're telling them, hey, if you go even try to get a better job, you're not going to get this free handout? Because basically, in my mind, $126 a month is like living for free. Okay? I pay more than that just for my utility bill, like for one of my utility bills, okay? This lady is living for free, and it's an absolute joke. And I can't stand this stuff. Okay, aside from the voucher, Hare only made $841 per month via a government supplemental security income, SSI check. Okay, so her income, basically, this person is welfare queen. Okay? She has Section 8, and then she has Social Security, disability, or some garbage on top of that. And that's her full income. Welfare queen. What can I say? You know, we have a whole class of people who are living like this. Probably has food stamps as well. Let's not forget the food stamps. You got to pay for this person's food. And what kind of job are you only making $841 a month? Where are you working like 10 hours a week? You know, that's why I say, you know, like they're talking about putting, I guess there's no, any job you have, you could make more than this. Any job. Okay? Now, one story that I like to watch is there's a show called My 600 Pound Life. And in this show, you have these people and they are extremely obese. Yet somehow they're able to afford all the fast food and the majority of them don't work and they have a place to live. And you're sitting here and you're like, well, how the heck are they affording this? Right? This is how. Okay? The government is paying for their lifestyle so that they can essentially eat themselves to death. Oh man, I've got big problems with this. So anyway, let me continue because I'm getting off topic here. Brown added the voucher and SSI check together, which failed to meet the required income threshold, prompting Hare's application to be denied. Hare arguing Brown should have instead considered the $126 monthly sum, since that's all Hare was obligated to pay out of pocket after applying the voucher. The court ended up siding with Hare's reasoning that Brown wrongly weighed her actual income as opposed to the amount she owes in rent. No, absolutely not. Why are we going to apply a different standard to a Section 8 tenant compared to every other tenant that we have? Well, she only owes $126 a month. No. She owes what was it they said? It was like $1,590 a month. Regardless of whether the government pays their share or not, she is the tenant. So let's say for some reason she loses her voucher, right? She loses that voucher. Will she be able to cover the rent on her own? No, she won't. So now I'm stuck with a tenant who only makes $800 a month. Give me a break. This is the reason why we have these requirements on rental income, okay? And if she can't pay the rent on her own, well, so be it. Now, why do I say if she loses her voucher? Because they're putting work requirements, or they're trying to put work requirements on people who receive Section 8 vouchers. So she might only be limited to getting a voucher for a couple of years. Yeah. So easily she could end up losing that voucher, and then the landlord is out of luck. But anyway, what do you think of this whole situation? Do you believe that the Maryland Supreme Court was right? Do you believe that a Section 8 voucher is a source of income? Put a comment in the comment section down below.